Hello, welcome to this week's How's the Market, Pensacola. Well, days on market are still pre-pandemic. What? What? Yeah, there was a study that came out last week that actually said for sellers, we have a bunch of stuff out there that says, well, it's the buyer's demand's gone way down. The buyer demand has neutralized, which if you want to call that going down, cool. So it's not red hot. It's still hot though. But days on market, your property's days on market to sell is still pre-pandemic. Let me show you a graph real quick. Look at this. If you look at February of 2019, the average days on market across the country, 49 days before you go into contract. So you are on the market a month and a half, right? If you look at February 2020, excuse me, so right as things are starting to kick off with COVID, we were averaging 36 days on market before you went to contract. If you look at the numbers, the latest numbers we have are from August of this year, was 16 days. So you tell me, now wait a minute, that means that we're less time on market. But Shane, I can hear it already, but Shane, I'm seeing stuff on the market a lot longer than that. There is a caveat here, and is one that I've been talking to a lot of sellers about lately. This is if you price right. If you want to try and appreciate, we got that hyper appreciation, even the beginning of this year. So last year we got some hyper appreciation. The beginning of this year we got some hyper appreciation, and then it slowed. So if you're trying to still build in a hyper appreciation from the last sale that was in June, and you want to try and take it up 15, 20% from there, it's going to sit. It's going to sit. So if we have to look at a reality check for sellers, that's it. Okay, those Wild West days that we had for the past 20 months or something leading up to, late this summer, let's say August. All right, those are gone. You're not going to see the people paying over appraised value anymore. Some will. You always will have that. There will be some exception that, I had one in 2000, 2008 or 9 or 10. I mean, it was the bust, right? So it was well over appraised value. But it was a family home that had been foreclosed. Someone had bought it and now they were selling it. So the guy was buying grandma's old house. Okay. He was willing to overpay for it. Right? Sellers aren't willing to do that right now. They're just not. So we have to do something about that. Now, does this mean that demand's completely gone? The buyer demand's completely gone and just a horrible time to sell and we're going to crash and throw our hair on fire? No, things are still selling. As long as you're priced right, things are still selling. But there's the price right part. So now it's not just one of those, I seen an article the other day. It said some people are trying FSBOs, but less and less people, for FSBOs, if you don't know, are for sale by owner. Less and less people are doing that because they're finding out that it's not as easy anymore. Sometimes it was easy. 2021, last year, there was a lot of people that sold their property for sale by owner, because people were just looking. So all you had to do was literally throw a sign in the front yard. All right. If you notice, there's a lot of advertising, a lot of people saying, hey, I sold this in 2 days or I sold this in 3 days. There was a lot of promotions going on from realtors in the business. A lot of that's got quiet. Why? Because now we're getting a little bit back more towards a neutral market. That's national. I'm going to pull this down in this show to what our area is. And our area is not necessarily national. So you do have to pay attention to stuff there. But I wanted to kind of bring that slide up to show you, hey, if you're priced right, things are still selling. So as a seller, buyers are out there. They're looking. They're wanting to buy. They're just not so desperate to take anything and everything. You're going to have contingencies. You're going to have, I have got multiple things under contract, and literally out of all those contracts I have, only one is an as-is, no inspections. Literally, just one. Because, most people are going to do inspections. They're going to negotiate that. They're going to want some closing costs. There's things that are coming in. And even that one that's as-is, no inspections was under list price. All right, but because it was cash and it was a quick close, the seller took it. I thought we could have got a little more, but that particular seller took it because, that's what they wanted. It matched what they wanted. And if you know me, it's like, as long as you get what you're looking for, then you win that negotiation. So that's what's happening nationally, okay? There is less time on market than pre-pandemic. So don't let a lot of the stuff that's scaring you. The stock market's scary right now. Don't let a lot of that stuff scare you out of this market. As long as we price it right, you'll get it sold. All right, you'll get it sold. All right, that's national news. Let's get over to our 2 counties and see how our inventory levels are this week. Let's go. All right, if you don't know, I always start this show off with this slide right here. It says if we have between 6 and 7 months, we have what's called a neutral market. Anything greater than 7 months is considered a buyer's market. Anything less than 6 months is considered a seller's market. What the slide doesn't say, anything greater than 9 months, hyper buyer's market. Anything less than 3 months, hyper seller's market. We will start over in Escambia County, and it looks like we got 951 properties active, and most everything is still in red. Shane, what is red? Hyper buyer's market. Well, I just lied on the show, didn't I? That's a hyper seller's market is what a red is. A red is a hyper seller's market. You get up here to that 500,000 to 550,000, we have 2.9 months. Still technically considered a hyper sellers because we're under 3, but yeah, okay. So we can move all the way up to $550,000 as a hyper sellers. Just like last week, the 550,000 to 600,000, 4.9. I want to say that was in the 5s last week. So that's come down just a little. So that's just in a seller's market. And then our luxury is 4.7. So that's just in a seller's market, not a hyper seller's market. Besides that, everything else still in a hyper seller's market. And if you noticed, you get down here to the 250 to 300,000, things are still selling at about 100% of list. As long as it's list right. Now, there's a little caveat to that I want to say, because I've seen some people, let's say, it was 100% of the list, and we'll go to the 350,000 to 400,000 range. They were listed at 380. Then when they went under contract, or when they were negotiating at 370 or 365, they changed the list price. So they changed the list price from 380 to 365, then sold it at 365, so it's showing 100%. So some of that is still negotiable. There are some sellers out there, let me just talk to my buyers for a minute. There are some sellers out there that are not willing to negotiate much because they still think it was earlier this year. But if it's priced right, they really don't have to, because look, we still have a hyper seller's market as long as it's priced right. If you're overpriced, nobody's going to show up. But if you're priced right, it's still a hyper seller's market. So that's Escambia County. Let's jump over to Santa Rosa, see what's going on there. 680 active. We are definitely gaining inventory over there. Nothing under 50,000, shocker. The 50 to 100,000 is a seller's market, not a hyper seller's market, but there's only 6 properties active. I've seen those. Some of those are actually lots. There's vacant land. And some of it's damaged property, so they need some work. If you look at the 100,000 to 150,000, 0.5 months, there's only 3 active. 150,000 to 200,000, there's only 8 active, 0.8 months. So we've gone down in that lower end. That first-time home buyer, some of the investors are coming in there. That's gone down some. We get up to 450,000 to 500,000, and we jump out of the hyper sellers and into just a seller's market. But barely. So Shane, if I'm between 400,000 and 500,000, would you change your marketing? Well, if we look at this, 400,000 to 450,000 is a hyper seller's market at 2.6 months. Couldn't tell if that was a 6 or an 8. And 450,000 to 500,000 is 3.3 months. One's a hyper sellers, one's a sellers. Would I change my marketing? Nope. It's close enough. 3.3 is still pretty much close to hyper sellers. We are in a sellers. That said 5.3, I would absolutely change the marketing up. You would need to differentiate some more. So pay attention there. 600,000 to 650,000 in Santa Rosa County. We've got 21 properties active, and that puts me at 4.3 months worth of inventory. You may need to start differentiating there. Because out of these 21, you don't have a whole lot under contract. There's only 5 under contract. That's why your buyer demand has slowed a little in that. And that makes sense with the mortgage rates. Mortgage rates are in the 7s. I know they touch the 7s. I suspect they'll go to the 8s before we actually see this climb stop. But I don't think we're going to get there anytime soon. I think we're going to kind of level out. I think we touched 7, and there's some weird stuff going on. I think what I have seen cyclically is after the election, the market will start to calm down. Once we see the CPI calm down some, then the Feds will slow up on their aggressive rate raise, because we'll actually cool the economy, which will cool inflation, which changes the mortgage rates. I don't want to give you a full-on MBA class, but a lot of that's coming. Okay, so I think some of that's going to cool off, but do I think we'll wind up in the 8s eventually? Yeah, I do. 700,000 plus in Santa Rosa County, your luxury is at 3.8. So there's not much price point in Santa Rosa County that I would change my marketing, except the 600,000 to 650,000. That we may need to add a little bit more. We may need to differentiate a little bit more. The rest, just a standard marketing should apply. Does that mean that you just can put something on, a website and put a sign in the yard and it'll sell? No. No, there's still marketing involved. It's not 2021 again. Okay, so there's still marketing involved. We're just not going to have to go to package B. We can do package A and get it sold as long as it's priced right. So there is still marketing involved there. And I just think that in Santa Rosa County, package B is only going to be needed for the 600,000 to 650,000. And that's just because everything I do on A is massive. There's a list. It's like, we sat down and calculated it up. It was like 108 different things we do when we take a listing. So yeah, that's the two numbers, or the two counties anyways. I didn't end the show last week because it has been a little bit of a break for me. So I'm going to make sure I end it this week talking about our instant offer program, because I've had some people reach out to me even when I wasn't shooting the show. I took that little hiatus from the show. When I wasn't shooting the show, they reached out to me about the instant offer program. And if you don't know anything about it, there actually is a link in the comments, or in the description, excuse me, about how we do that. And what the instant offer is basically, usually somebody has inherited a property, there's some damage to a property, they can't repair it, stuff of that nature. I can come out and give you an instant offer because I have a conglomerate of investors behind me. We can give you an instant offer, close in a couple of weeks, right? We got to make sure title's good, if there's survey exceptions or whatever. I mean, we got to do our due diligence, sure, but no repairs. It's as is. You're not going to have any closing costs except for the taxes you owe for the year. So if you haven't paid taxes in 2022 yet, and we close in November, well, then you're going to have to pay most of the taxes. Besides that, no, you won't have any closing costs. So I'll build all that in. That usually gives people a good floor. So if they want to consider coming on the market, seeing if they can get more, then you can come on the market with a much more confidence, because if we can't, and usually if I do that, I say, hey, look, let's just test the market for 4 weeks. If we can't, then will this number suffice? Yes. Other people, I think I've told the story a couple of times, that I had a couple that had to be in Dallas in 10 days. He got a fantastic job offer, but they had to go. They had to move, all right? I want to say his salary doubled to move to Dallas. And yeah, it was a really good offer, but they had to go. They had to move. So we worked out a deal. The offer was more, actually. He told me that this offer is actually a little bit more than I thought I was going to get for the place. So it worked out for all parties involved. It was great for the portfolio, the investors, the person selling it. So that's our instant offer program. Again, the information is in the box below. I'm going to start bringing back, and I'll make this announcement today, I'm going to start bringing back our certified pre-owned program. But I don't think I'm going to do that until our inventory starts to get a little higher, just a little higher. But if you're curious about a certified pre-owned program, reach out to me. I'll let you know how that works. It actually just is a separate differentiation. Usually that is in my marketing B column, all right? It's a separate differentiation so that when you come on the market, you have a little more confidence. So that works out. All right, I tried to keep it a little shorter this week than I did last week, but last week I hadn't been on for a couple of weeks, so I want to make sure I let you guys know what had been happening. There's our numbers. Hopefully it's a good week this week for you, and hopefully this information helps you make a decision for you and yours. Thanks for watching. Have a great week. My mission is to help people break through all the noise out there and don't need no permission. I want to help you get to actual truth. Don't you just want the truth?